neuroplasticity and what the brain research has said, that the brain is malleable even into adulthood. And when people experience positive asset-based relationships, we can change the DNA of the brain.
Okay, well, welcome. This is another spotlight on a knowledge philanthropist. Sorry, I have trouble saying that. Try and say that 3 times fast. The whole philanthropist thing is get your mouth going every which way. Anyway, so we have with us a wonderful guest today, Lourdes Alvarez-Ortiz. She's Ph.D. She is a therapist and a education consultant, and knows a ton about trauma and educating people with trauma and how to be trauma-informed educator. That's a very big deal. We're working with ACEs Matter, and these people, everybody's got trauma. Pretty much everybody's got trauma. Some have a ton of them, some have a few of them, but either way, we got to deal with them. And that's what Lourdes does. So
hello, and thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and to be here with you. And finally meet you, and so it's very good to be here, and sharing a little bit of what I do, and my thoughts and my practice and my beliefs, all of that. So I'm a school psychologist by training. That's my training. I have a master's degree in clinical psych and a PhD in school psychology. And I've been working for 25 plus years in education, probably mainly working in school districts and with school districts. So that's been my whole entire career, working with educators, with children, with families, with administrators. And lately, probably the last 10 years or so, I've been more focusing on working with students who live with trauma, with adversity, and supporting the educators and administrators that work with them. So that's our work. And I say our because I have a book that I co-authored with 2 great colleagues. And the title is Teaching to Strength, Supporting Students Living with Trauma, Violence, and Chronic Stress. And my focus has been to make sure that people emphasize the asset, the strength perspective of everybody, of students, families, and everybody who lives with adversity. And that's all of us. As you said, everybody has experienced some kind of trauma, adversity in their lives that needs to be addressed somehow. But mainly people usually go from the deficit side because it's a trauma. So when it's a trauma, people think about all the negative side effects of trauma. And we know that. We absolutely know that, trauma affects students' lives, affects students' learning, their memory, their relationships, and their ability to learn, to interact with others. We know that, absolutely. And I have never denied those effects. But what I do is I go a step further and I look into neuroplasticity and what the brain research has said, that the brain is malleable even into adulthood. And when people experience positive asset-based relationships, we can change the DNA of the brain. So even with positive relationships, with that interactions that we have with people, students, families, educators, every time we do that, we are increasing the level of oxytocin in the brain. That's the good hormone, the connection hormone, the love hormone. And we are decreasing cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So if science is telling us that we are able to do that our interactions have the ability and the power to change people's DNA. Why can't we? Why aren't we are not doing it more often and more intentionally? So that's my passion, and that's my mission, just to make sure that people recognize that we do have the ability and the power to change people's life in the positive way.
Yeah, we do.
By just acknowledging, identifying, and labeling the strength and the values and the attributes that we see in them. So that's basically what I have been doing for the last I don't know, 10 years or so. Before I was just in the schools.
Okay.
Now I work with the schools, trying to provide professional development to educators and administrators in how to create trauma-sensitive learning environments. What does that mean? What do we do? What are the tools that we have to do that, to accomplish that? So
this is what I've also dedicated my life to do this, and Aces Matter does the same kind of things, is to educate people. They are not aware. People have no idea what's going on with their emotions. We don't talk about them. We don't learn about them. Nobody deals with them. Our parents didn't teach us because they didn't know, right? Our teachers don't really know very well. And so we're kind of starting from scratch. So thank you for doing all that and making it asset based. I love that. I love that concept, because we call it spin it to win it, which means you can make it more positive on purpose. So you find your positives, right? And find where you matter, right?
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah, Matt. Absolutely. And the other thing, Matt, is that when we come from a deficit perspective, everything looks gloomy. Everything looks like there is no opportunity, no possibility. Doors are closed. It's too much for me to handle. I cannot, change your life circumstances, all of that. And that piles up on top of us. And then we just paralyze. We just freeze. We just don't do anything because we feel like it's too much. It's overwhelming. And then slowly we become hopeless and helpless. And slowly we go further and further until we get compassion fatigue. And then we don't do anything. But when we come from the asset base, the strength base, then we see possibilities, then we see opportunities. I see what is there, not what is missing, what is already there that I can work with, that I can do something about it. And that gives me hope. And then I can just be more productive. I can be more positive. I can be more realistic into what I am doing with other people. So that's, and it's good for our health. Absolutely. When you come from a deficit base, your health is not good. Your health is always very, it's you are unhealthy. You are not well. But when you do the asset based, you come from a different angle. You say, wow, this sounds like something that I can do. This sounds like something that I can make something positive about it. And then you feel that you have a mission in this world. And I think we all have a mission. It's different for everybody. We come from different angles, different fields, and roles, but we all have a mission. My mission is to make sure that I help you to be the best version of yourself. And if I can do that, then I am responsible, I am committed, I am educated, I am, sensitive to your needs. And then I say, okay, I am doing what I am supposed to be doing.
Right on. I feel that too, and I know Cindy does too. And in Aces Matter, we're trying very hard to get this out into the world, to be awareness. And what I've been realizing lately, actually this morning, I wrote down and said, we are giving hope. We are helping people get some hope.
Yeah, what Aces Matter is doing is making sure that people are aware of the adversity that they may have faced in the past or are facing right now. and what they can deal, how they can manage. It's not the end, it's just the beginning of your journey. So I always say, trauma does not define you. Goodness does.
Yeah.
Goodness does define who
Oh,
you are.
nice.
Trauma does
Nice.
not
Nice.
define you. So I think ACEs Matter is doing a great job in making sure people are aware, and they also find some hope. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. And through the tunnel, there is light as long as we just work together with one another. We always have to remember that, and ACEs Matter does a good job doing that. That connection matters. That relationships matter.
Yep.
Yes, because it's when we support each other, and we treat each other with a sense of care, a sense of, you are here with me and I'm going to support you in the best way that I can.
Nice.
And when people know that, they begin to feel like, okay, they are on the right track. They are. There is hope, as you said. There is hope. There's always hope. There's nothing that we cannot accomplish in this world if we just support each other and make sure that we have connections with each other, positive connections, asset-based connections.
Can you answer something for me? I was having an argument with someone this morning, not an argument, but discussion on, I'm saying that I think everybody has trauma. Trauma just means something severe happened to you. It doesn't really matter what the details were. I mean, some are way worse than others, much worse. But most kids, all kids, I would think, had some stuff that affected them that in a big way in their life, and it was traumatic for them, emotionally and cognitively, right? How do you look at that?
Yes, almost half of children here in U.S. have experienced at least one adverse childhood experience. So that's a lot of kids in the classroom. So if I am a teacher or an administrator, I'm going to have a lot of students in my school that have been impacted by ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. But remember, my goal here is to make sure that I do see them, but what I want to see in them is their values, their attributes, their strengths, their assets, the good things, the goodness that they have in them. And I want to make sure that they know about it, because many times you don't know. When you have gone through so much trauma and adversity, that place in your mind is already filled with the adversity, is already filled with the negative remarks, comments, feedback that you have received from the environment, from other people. So it is our responsibility as asset-based educators to replace those negative images with a self-positive image. And how do I do that? I do it by first observing what the students and what the people do, then finding the assets and strength in everything that they do. And third, I'm going to acknowledge, I'm going to name it, I'm going to make sure that student knows about it. If I see that you are a responsible person, if I see that you're a sensible person, if I see that you're a caring person, my responsibility is to let you know what I'm seeing and where I see it with the evidence. Not that I am making it up, not that I am saying, oh, good job. No. I'm saying you are so responsible because you are here every single day in this school. You are here on time. That means that you are connected to us. That means that you're responsible because you are here. That means that education is important for you. That means that you're looking for connection with your peers. That means that you're sensitive to what I am, sharing with you, the learning, the teaching. So all of those assets in that person, I just label them. And all of a sudden that person is like, wow, that's me. Yes, honey, that's you. That is you. So the positive
Nice.
self-image begins to evolve, and the mentality and how I see myself is very different now. I see myself like a good person because you are a good person. We are all good people. We never ever were born to be bad people. We were born to be good people. The environment, the circumstances, then that's a different
Nice.
story. But the goodness inside us, it's there. And my responsibility is to bring that goodness out and for you to know that you have that goodness inside you, regardless of what is going on in your life.
Nice, nice. That reminds me that one of the folks that I work with, they did a survey that was sponsored by the government. I was surprised of all the teachers in the state of New Mexico, SEL.NM, and they asked them, and what one of the conclusions that she had is exactly what you're saying. The way she put it was to be intentional, not intuitive, which means don't let them be intentional to tell people the assets that you see, the wonderful things that you see about them, complimenting and positives and stuff. Don't figure that they're going to figure it out and they're going to read your mind. Be intentional about it and tell them, right?
That's absolutely beautiful. And I even go a step further. Be intentional, and if the moment, the circumstances does not exist, you create it. I do that. If I, okay. Yes, you create the circumstance for that student to showcase, to display her strength. Absolutely. If I am walking next to a student who with whom I may have a little bit of friction, I have a little bit of difficult relationship, I create an opportunity for that student to show me his goodness. And I just walk by. Probably I drop a book or something that I have in my hand, and I know the student will pick it up for me, and then I say, "Thank you, Jimmy, you are so kind," and I just walk away. I had the opportunity to say something that is already in that student. That strength is there. That value is in him. He is a kind person. And I created the opportunity to make sure that he knows that he is a kind person. So, cool. We have to be intentional and we have to be creative as well.
Not to mention manipulative. No, never mind. No.
For the good. Bit. For the good.
It's okay. For the good. Right. Exactly. It's exactly. So that's beautiful. That's really great. And it sounds like you've kind of dedicated your life to making sure that kids are happier, that they are able to get some hope and to deal with some of their traumas. It's a beautiful thing. And it is, it's really helpful in the classroom and for kids in general. I know you've contributed more than 30 hours last year to ACES Matter and Connection Committee, and that's a wonderful offer that you've had. How was that for you?
Amazing. Those ladies on the Connection Committee is such a supportive group. It feels like, and I was just introduced to them. I didn't know them or anything like that. And just by my second meeting with them, I felt like I was part of the family already. And nice. It's a place where you go, and if you feel like, that day you are not there, or, you need just a little bit of a lift, you get it from those ladies. They are amazing, nice. Very supportive. And you know what? I have 4 essential pillars. I always present my 4 essential pillars of asset-based relationships. And I said, these are non-negotiable for students and people who live with trauma. And it's unique in your interaction with people. You have to make sure that they feel safe, emotionally and physically safe, that they feel that they belong, that they feel that they are valued and competent. And those 4 essential pillars exist in our Connection Committee. We all feel that we belong to that group, that we are part of that family. we feel safe. We can talk about anything, and we are safe. We are accepted, and we feel valued and competent because every single one of us, we bring our knowledge, expertise, and share our ideas, and they are all, very well received. We hear each other, we see each other, we complement each other. So it's a great committee, and I am so glad that Cindy extended the invitation to be part of it.
Yeah, she has a great group. She's wonderful with people, and so she has some amazing connections. Can you repeat those 4 things you mentioned? Belonging, value. Can you mention those again?
Yes. So those are my 4 essential pillars of asset-based relationships. In every single interaction that I have with people, with anybody, but especially and particularly with people who have lived with trauma, I have to make sure that they feel safe, that they feel that they belong, that they feel that they are valued, and that they are competent.
Beautiful. Yeah, those are you can't get much more positive than that. And we're talking about positive mental health. We're trying to help people adjust their mental health to be more positive. It has kind of a negative connotation to it because we're talking about problems and trauma and issues and disorders and all that stuff. And we got to deal with all that stuff. We do have to deal with all that stuff. But if we can deal with that, then we can shift it and spin it and adjust it and make it more positive. And you can't get much more positive than that. Belonging, valued, competent, and above all of these, in my opinion, safe, right? Emotions have to, or safety, right?
Safety. When people, usually when you see students acting out, that's how people call it, acting out. Or when you see students whose behaviors are not the best version of themselves, it's usually because one of these 4 pillars is missing. It's usually because either they don't feel safe, they don't feel that they belong, or they don't feel competent or valued in that learning environment. So it's I work a lot with these with school districts. And it sometimes it feels like it's so simple. It looks simple, but when we go to in depth, we really have to do a lot of work around making sure that everybody in that building, everybody in that district, feel those 4 essential pillars. And how do we do that?
That's great.
How do we make it concrete? So I work a lot with school districts to make sure that happens. And that's the first step to have prevention in your school, to prevent those fires from happening. We don't want to be, putting out fires all the time. We want to prevent fires from happening. So that makes the school culture that is very positive, that people feel safe, they feel happy, they feel that they belong, they feel that I am a part of this fabric. When I am not here, people miss me, and that's a good feeling, for people to have.
You were talking about making sure that every interaction with the child has those 4 pillars, and then you expanded to the parents. I mean, to the teachers and to the administrators and the whole district. You mentioned. What do you think would happen if the whole general public had access to the ACEs study and were aware of all of this? What's possible?
A lot of things are possible. I think when we help people, when we support people in becoming aware of how adversity impacts your life, and how we can just face it, and also move toward a more positive and strength-based field, where we see not only the damage that trauma is doing, but also how we can just counterbalance those hurts and damages. And that's when I am so empathetic. I put so much emphasis on strength and assets, because when we do that, we are telling people that change is possible, that health and wellness is possible, in spite of the circumstances.
Yep.
So that's that. I think that's the beauty of making people aware, not only of the trauma and its effects, but about the brain chemistry, about what I can do with my interactions that would affect, in a positive way, would affect your brain chemistry and your DNA, and will make you a happier human being. Um, and let me say something that is very important. Um,
Okay.
and we have to make sure that we do not ignore the social conditions that some people face. Social conditions like
Environment.
inequity, environment, and injustice, discrimination, racism, homophobia, all of those create very dangerous situations, and create a lot of trauma in people. And we are not in the business of telling people that they have to be resilient without changing anything. We are not in the business of saying, oh, if you are more resilient, you will be able to overcome that. No, we are saying that people are going to find their assets and strength to fight that, to change that, to be an agent of change for those people who need it. So inequity, social inequity needs to also be addressed. It's not that we are saying that,
Nice.
social inequity is going to stay there, so you need to be resilient. No, we are not saying that. We are saying that we are going to find all our assets and strengths to fight against those social inequities and social conditions
Help do something
that
about it.
marginalize
Oh, I
people.
like it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure that
Great.
that is
So
clear.
action oriented. That's a big deal. It's not just about necessarily feeling better temporarily. It's about doing something to make it different permanently, kind of, right?
Yes,
Yep.
yes,
Cool.
absolutely.
Okay. So who are you talking to? Who is your ideal client? Do you work mostly with kids or teachers or administrators? Who are you working with
Well,
the asset-based approach?
yeah. So beside presenting at conferences and offering webinars, um, I do a lot of work with school districts. So school districts approach me for supporting them, helping them, assisting them with creating informed or trauma sensitive learning environments in
Yeah.
their schools and districts. So I love it. That's one of my passions, to work with them and see
Yay.
how much they really get engaged in doing this work, and how serious they are. I have had districts where, when I am presenting to educators, I have the superintendent and the assistant superintendent right there during the whole day of the presentation. And I say, wow, what a great message you are sending to your educators
There you go.
and your staff, that this is so important that you took time of your busy schedule to be here with all of them, and not only in the back of the room, just doing something else. No, they are actively participating. So I love when I see that commitment from top leadership, because it trickles down to the rest of the staff. So I do a lot of work with school districts and in trauma informed practices, and how they can create such learning environments in the classroom. And Matt, this is important also, because lately, with the pandemic and after the pandemic began, I started to see a lot of the need of my work, not only with students, but with educators, with teachers. So I encountered this very unique situation where I had to stop my work being directed to students and address the needs of the teachers, because they were so overwhelmed with so much stress and anxiety and depression. So I said, oh my goodness, it's true. They are human beings as well as our students. So if you are not well taken care of, you cannot take care of your students. So I began to shift a little bit. And now I do a lot of work with educators as well, just to make sure that they understand where they are coming from. They understand about the trauma that we have all experienced, the collective trauma that we have all experienced during these past 3 years. So for them to understand that, for them to understand also that they are developing compassion fatigue and how to address that as well, and how to create a more asset-based perspective when they are looking at themselves and their students and their families. So that was a big change for me during the last 3 years of the pandemic, just to make sure that I was also addressing the adults and not only the students.
The teachers. Great. Fantastic. That's wonderful. Our nonprofit EQ for Peace, we're trying to teach the whole world emotional intelligence, education, emotional education, and from everybody, not just some people, everybody. And what we're going bottom up, top down, side by side, whichever way we need to do. But what I hear you doing is top down. That's a wonderful thing. That's exactly what's needed, in my opinion, in our country and in other countries, starting at the top, starting at the school district level. The teachers too are we've found a lot of people don't know that they don't know about emotions, but teachers do know that they don't know. So they're actively looking or listening or open to understanding about it. And that's a wonderful thing, because that's going to be passed down, right? So thank you for doing all you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah,
so how do we get a hold of you? How would someone get a hold of you if they needed to?
I am in LinkedIn, so people can look me at the LinkedIn. Okay. I also have my email address that probably we can share, dralvarezortiz @gmail.com. I also have my professional Facebook page that people can look at. I am on Twitter. I'm usually more active on Twitter than any other platform. Just responding to different ideas and beliefs and thoughts that people post. So there are some ways that you can find me, and also absolutely through ACEs Matter.
Well, thank you for doing this. Thank you for all that you're doing, and you're changing the world personally. It must be wonderful to watch this happen. I always tell people, if you want instant gratification, teach emotional intelligence. You can watch people change right in front of your face. It's fantastic. And your asset-based approach to it is just a beautiful thing. So I'm going to start using that as well. I love that you're going out of your way to find good things about people on purpose. That's a wonderful thing. So thank you for all you're doing.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for your time.
What would have life been like for you if you could have skipped childhood? If you could help people be better, healthier adults, would you? Truth is, the fact that every person on earth had to experience childhood is enough to care about the ACEs Matter cause. ACEs are so common that 1 in every 6 people have been exposed. Average childhood experiences, aka ACEs, are like time capsules of a traumatic past and a looking glass into a blurry future. ACEs are one of the root causes to poor employee performance, mental illness, crime, disease, and even poor quality of life, just to name a few. According to the CDC, 8 out of the 10 leading causes of death in the US correlate with the exposure to 4 or more ACEs. If they can be predicted, they can be prevented. ACEs Matter is on a mission to stop generational cycles of ACEs, and you can help by starting a campaign or making a small tax-deductible donation. You could help 1 million families get the support that they need to treat and heal from childhood adversities that have affected their adulthoods. We want to hire, train, and deploy 250 community influencers by the end of 2025. Our goal is to raise $1.3 million in order to begin with operations for this initiative. Donations would go towards towards mobile deployment of trained trauma professionals, community outreach, and door-to-door awareness. Get involved, see the results, save a life, and repeat. Visit acesmatter.org to learn more. Let's be real, we need to heal.